What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of A&E. My name is Thomas Luthner. Unfortunately, Bailey could not make it this week, but we do have a special episode in store for you guys. We got the chance to interview former collegiate basketball player and Armenian gold medalist Nicholas Ovanessian. Before we get to the interview, I want to give a huge shout out to the person who made our intro song today, Mike James. Mike James is an up-and-coming country artist who is originally from Long Island, New York. He had just moved over to Nashville, Tennessee to pursue his dream. So if you like country music, please check him out. My personal favorite song is Fake ID. And let's get to the episode.
Without a roof on, she'd be riding shotgun with her hair blowing, hands held high. Without a roof on, the lights would be shining on a football Friday night. We'd be fishing in the dark and staring at the stars on a tailgate under the moon. Turn off the news and slip on your boots, 'cause whatever it is we do without a roof on.
Alright, what's going on, Nick? Welcome to A&E Podcast.
Thanks for having
So
me.
happy to have you. So happy to have you.
Happy to be here.
So I was just mentioning that you're a basketball player. I know that you played in Armenia very recently. You had won a gold medal there. I know that you had played there a couple of years prior to this, prior to COVID as well. So walk us through your journey for basketball. How did you start playing basketball? What levels did you play at?
As you would know, we played together CYO, so I kind of started out there. I think first grade is when we really had organized basketball playing. So obviously it started there. We were playing on low hoops, no basketball, like score or nothing like that. And it was me and you beating up on everybody, being the best players because we were the tallest at the time. But yeah, no, the CYO mostly for that, church league there. Then because we went to school, Catholic school, and then I played with my Armenian church, which is pretty much the same thing, but it was a little older age group. So say I was like 10 years old, playing up with like 15-year-olds. So that was good. Then obviously I went on to play high school, played freshman, played JV, 2 years varsity. You remember that? I played against you a few times over there too. So we went from being teammates to playing against each other. Had some high school career, ups and downs, had a lot of fun, played a lot of good players. Then I played, like you said, at Maritime College for 4 years. Well, 3 really. 1 year was the COVID year. Yeah. Unfortunately, I do still have a red shirt left, 1 year, but I don't think I'm going to be cashing in on that. And in the meantime, so yeah, first time I went to Armenia was in high school. Yeah. I believe that was 2017. I played in 2017 summer, I played in 2019, and then I played in this past summer, 2022.
So this is the Olympics for Armenia, correct?
So yeah, the way this works is it's the Armenian Olympics. So there's 2 different kinds of tournaments that I played in. The first year in 2017 was the same as this one that I just played in. That's a Pan-Homenemen basketball region that. So Homenemen is a sports organization. It's the second largest sports organization in the world behind FIFA, I believe. So 2017 I played in that. I represented East Coast. Same as this following year. The year in between, 2019, I played Pan-Armenian. So that was, I played for the Los Angeles team, which was weird. There's a bunch of East Coast guys, but we played for that. So again, in 2022, I represented East Coast. We had a bunch of guys. I was the only New York player, and we won.
So, as you said, we did grow up playing together. It was great to see the evolution in your game growing up, especially because of how different it was getting from middle school to high school and then to college. When we played together in middle school, it was more of a point guard kind of role. You move into high school, which is a point forward kind of role. You bring the ball up, playing defensive big, and then to watch you play in college, you're a complete big. They had you at the 4, they had you at the 5 against kids that were 6'5", 6'6". So what role did you play in Armenia?
Armenia was great because we had some big dudes, actually. Okay. So you're saying I played point forward in high school, I played the big, totally undersized. If they don't know, I'm 6'3". That's it. In high school, I was like 155 pounds, soaking wet. So yeah, in Armenia, though, we had 2 guys, both like, one like 6'6", another dude 6'8", maybe a little taller. He was a big dude. So that was great. So at most, I would play the 3-4. But I got to play perimeter. That's where I'm more comfortable. So it was better for me.
Yeah, and again, you're 6'3". Yeah. I would say I'm around 6'1" in high school. I wasn't that tall yet. So I know that you had your very fun highlights when it came to high school basketball. With that being said, you swatted me into the stands sophomore year. We had our fun playing against each other. So, what was your highlight of high school basketball before we move on to the other years?
It was that exactly. But that's a good story though, because right, we had played CYO, we could play.
Yeah.
Everyone knew we were best friends.
Yeah.
Right, so every day during the week we're at the park after practice playing with each other at basketball, and that was a JV year.
Yes.
Right. So JV year at your school.
Yeah.
And those games are rowdy. So we're talking a few thousand people there,
Yeah.
right? A couple
Very,
thousand.
very small gym.
It's a small gym.
Very
People,
small gym.
I mean, they're in your jock strap. They're all over you, right?
Yeah.
So I think I was getting real fed up with all the trash talk that was happening, and I was getting back to some other stories with that. But then, unfortunately, you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that's why. And everyone was talking about it after. Like,
I know. And I so vividly remember the moment because I felt wide open, and, for no reason. We ran our inbound play, ran our side out play, ran it perfectly. We were right on the dot, got there in my
I was
spot,
going the inbound.
and I know, and you came from behind me, and I was wide open. We had to play perfectly. And as soon as you saw the pass coming, you decided to come right behind me. Went up with the layup, did not see you behind me. I remember you swatted me into the stands.
That was the thing. It's like we played with each other so much, we knew each other's tendencies.
Yeah.
Stay away from each other. 'Cause I knew how you were gonna go up.
And that was so funny because I remember as soon as the game started, when we were shaking hands with everybody on the team, and you and I dabbed each other up, and everybody knew from there. It was like, okay, this is gonna be a game.
Yeah, it's
it got very intense with that. But I was just talking about how you played multiple positions. So, who would you say that you looked up to when it came to basketball, to a professional player? If you we've all watched our highlights before. I loved watching players like Larry Bird, players like Nikola Jokic, who had the core vision, could also shoot the ball. That's the player I would like to be in high school when I was playing. So who was one person you said, if it's not one person, it could be multiple, that you said you would sort of model your game after?
Yeah. There was definitely different times where different players were extremely influential on my game at the time. Something that I've always done through my basketball career is, if I'm into a player's influencing me, I'll watch a lot of their game time, a lot of their film before I play. And it's, you start to do things that they do. But I would say pillars of who I looked up to and played like, Kawhi Leonard was definitely my guy. I'm a boring mid-range player, just like that. But I also went crazy on the backboards and diving on loose balls like Dennis Rodman. So it was like kind of a mix of those two always. In the very recent years, I really like watching Doncic play, obviously.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't have the green light. Doncic
Yeah.
has to pull from that. But when I'm in the park, it's Doncic. When I'm in a real game, it's probably Kawhi Leonard with a lot of Dennis Rodman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you say that you liked Kawhi, you liked Rodman. And again, playing with you, especially against each other in the first 2 years of high school before I stopped playing the higher level of varsity, I know that you were very grit and grind kind of player. You did it all against us. So when it came to playing varsity, when we did not play against each other, what would you say was your highlight then? Because I know you had played against NBA players. You had played against Cole Anthony, Moses Brown, people who are very, very high in the NBA right now.
Right. So, like you mentioned before, I was extremely undersized. Playing against some 7-footers at that point, guarding centers. I mean, there's not much I can do there. So at that point, I was really looking up to trying to find how to play defense from an undersized guy, but I couldn't tell you of one guy with my build in the NBA who was guarding people at such an undersized position, right? So at that point, it was just hustle, right? Hustle. I mean, I always say we played against some big guys, some 7-footers,
Moses Brown, Kobe Coburn,
those guys. So I tell people all the time, I go, listen, I couldn't guard them, but they couldn't guard me. They couldn't come out to the perimeter, so it was a lot of me wrestling down low. Maybe they'll get scored, they'll score or whatnot, and then I will have to play the perimeter to shoot because they couldn't come out to guard me. So those were honestly some of my better games because I had the liberty to shoot from the perimeter and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, with that being said, so you played against those big guys, people that were lottery picks in the NBA. What was the difference in talent when it came to playing somewhere like Armenia? I know that in the prior years in Armenia, you had played with professional players, people playing overseas. I know that in our men's league, currently we just finished up a season where we played with professional players, people that are playing the highest level in Spain. Right. So what's the difference when it comes to playing in a Euro League compared to playing, even you played collegiate basketball, and you played against, again, some top players in the NBA right now. So what's the difference in talent, in skill level when it comes to IQ, things like that?
Well, it's really interesting because obviously America leads the way in basketball. And we are doing basketball at at the highest level.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until that dream team that people in the other parts of the world didn't like know about basketball. So American basketball is ahead of everyone, but it's different because the other places, they don't have as individually talented or athletic players, it seems. So European basketball is way more like teamwork kind of a deal, a lot of passing, this kinds of thing. Whereas American basketball, you're looking for an opportunity to expose someone all the time, right? You find a mismatch, you're going at them heavily. Now, don't get me wrong, that can happen in the European basketball as well, but that was almost our advantage when we played over there. So I have an East Coast team. I'm from New York. A lot of guys from like Chicago, Detroit, Philly. Okay, so we all played that American basketball, and we were playing teams like Iran or Syria. They're thinking more teamwork, and they had some individually good players, but we realized we could just pick them apart, right? So we had a big man, like I mentioned before, and the other team, if they didn't have a guy who we thought could hang with that guy, we're just going at it, force them to adjust. So now they're gonna dump it down. We're gonna dump it down to the center, and he's getting double, triple team. They're collapsing it on him. Well, what do? You kick the ball out. Now the next guy's open. We can play perimeter basketball too. So I think Americans, we think like that in terms of basketball. Find the mismatch and expose that. And when they react to that, go to the next option. Whereas European basketball, they just have their style of play, move the ball quick, pass, move, which works too. I mean,
yeah, I feel like, and you could tell me if this is true. I feel like European basketball is a lot more of a perimeter-oriented game, and I know it's weird to say that with players like Steph Curry out, Klay Thompson, Devin Booker, people that are going to get the ball and shoot from half court, and they have the green light to do so. But I feel like if you look at those European players, people like Luka Doncic, people like Nikola Jokic, people like Nikola Vucevic, those are the kinds of players that are playing from the outside.
Yeah, sure.
So is that, when you were playing over in Armenia, was it like that? Was it more perimeter-oriented? Do you feel that you were playing more down low, more fundamental basketball?
Unfortunately, this past time, actually, I should say this for all the times, they don't have, or we didn't have, like, all right, maybe I shouldn't even say that they didn't have good refs. But the reffing is different.
Okay.
So, in here, what I've noticed when I play here, you can get away with a lot more.
Yeah.
Okay? So, there's a lot more contact. When we were playing over there, I mean, it felt like everything was a foul call.
Okay.
So, being that it's so easy to get fouled, it wouldn't make sense to just shoot the three every time. If you just drove and went to the basket, 90% of the chance you were getting a foul.
Okay.
But European style basketball, I mean, they kind of had to stretch big before we did, and they did things like that, right? A big man who could shoot or move up and down the floor. So, they definitely drive and kick, but I think we did that too.
Okay. And would you say that there's, you say that you guys push the ball, you guys have that, it's sort of a speedy offense, get the ball, pass and go. You guys got big men that can move up the court. Would you say that there is a style of preparation to do before going into a country like that? Because you are at a higher elevation level. So, I know the air up there was thinner than the air here. So is there something that you would do to prepare yourself? Because, again, you had the experience of playing there. I'm sure that the people that you played against and played with had the same kind of experience where you guys know that, okay, this is going to be different. We're at a different altitude right now. The air is thinner. It's going to be a little bit harder to run around. So is there a certain preparation that you guys had to go into that, like a certain cardio routine?
I'll tell you what. One of the days, so we had met up for our tryouts, maybe like March. It was in Philly, and we met all the guys, and we played a bunch. We played like 4 hours for like one day, and then 4 hours the next day.
Okay.
So because we had never played with each other. These are guys who, for the most part, I didn't even know. Just a few of them I did, and that was us meeting. Okay. Then we had met again, we practiced, and then we had a 4th of July weekend. We had a tournament, which it's like East Coast tournament. So whereas this was the World Games, this was just in the East Coast. So I played for New York in that case. We were having practices then too, and one of the kids in the group chat was saying, "Hey, like I feel like this is a lot. We're playing games for our city, and then we also have to practice for the regional team and whatnot, blah 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 blah." And kind of, in my opinion, being a little soft. So I texted him right away and I said, "Hey guys, I don't know if you realize this. I had played in Armenia twice. 2 other kids on the team with me had played in Armenia.
Okay.
So for the most part, this is all their first time.
Okay.
And I had to let them know. I said, hey, we're going to get 4,000 feet elevation. Don't think it's the same thing. If you're in shape here, you're not in shape there.
Yeah.
And on top of that is they don't have the best facilities.
Mm-hmm.
Here we have like perfect courts, like not slippery or anything like that. Over there, the courts are extremely slippery.
Yeah.
And if you ever played on a slippery court, you know how much more exhausting that is because you're sliding out, your feet aren't underneath you all the time. So I had to let them know, like, hey, you have to be on your best conditioning before we get out there.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys didn't even put that, like, didn't even realize that. So after I had said that, then these guys were like, oh, okay. And they got on it, and then they were like, yeah, we're not missing any practices. We had a bunch of scrimmages and practices that weekend, and then these guys kept up with it. I mean, I knew what to do for myself.
Yeah.
Just running, playing a lot. I mean, it's kind of mental for you. For me, at least, conditioning. I'm conditioned already. So, but for those guys, I had to let them know you got to get ready.
Yeah, it's something you got to know before you go there.
Yeah.
And with you saying you have 2 years of experience there, and this being the first time that you actually won the entire thing and got your gold medal. Mm-hmm. So you just said that, you know, it was you and 2 other guys in the entire roster that had gone there before. So what was it like to sort of go somewhere with an entire new group of people, basically, and win the one thing that you guys are looking forward to win? Was that feeling, do you feel that feeling was more, you know, did you feel better? Or were you like, oh, you know, I would have won with the kids that I played with before, or oh, I would have rather won with my team that I've had in the prior years?
Yeah, now I'm a little cutthroat. I didn't win with those guys. They didn't get the job done, so let's find some new guys. But I'll be honest, because I didn't know these guys, I wasn't sure what they could handle, you know, because there's a lot you got to deal with. Anytime you travel as a team, but to now have to go overseas, go to a whole different country where it's not the same as America. If you're pampered here, it's not like that over there. So I'm a little worried how these guys react. Yeah. And I was pleasantly surprised, you know, I think that's why we won. Most guys were tough about it. There was no issues like that. So it was great to meet new people, and these are like lifelong friends now. Yeah, that's who we get real close with. It was great.
That's something, you know, you're not gonna let that go. You officially have a gold medal. Yeah. You know, again, it's in a different country, but some people don't understand how amazing it is to actually have achieved something that you've been trying so hard to do for the last couple of years, and especially for that to get shut down right before COVID. Yeah. You know, so to come back after two years of not being able to do a single thing when it comes to sports, being shut out in college, missing your college season, and as soon as you're done with your last season in college, what could be your last season in college, you get that gold medal, which is something that you've wanted to achieve for the longest time.
I mean, third time's a charm, right?
I guess that's what they always say. How was that feeling for you? Like, how did you, once you knew that final buzzer went off, what was the feeling of like, oh my, we just did this? You know, that just happened.
Yeah, it was amazing. Because I'll be honest, for at least in high school, college, I didn't have like the most winning teams. I never won a championship like that. Yeah. And for me, the whole Armenian thing means a lot to play over there and whatnot. So I'm playing against all Armenians, all the Armenians in the world, and to me that's cool. It's a higher level because, you know, I'm in touch with that culture and I deal with these people all the time, and it's really cool to go back there, and it makes my family proud to be doing stuff like that. So I remember, I mean, to be honest, that last game, I know you got to watch it. Yeah. It was a bit of a blowout. Yeah. I mean, we came ready for that last game. We were ready. So I knew we were gonna win. End of first half, I knew we had it, and it's exciting, but you still got to play the game. Yeah. But like you said, when that last buzzer went off, I mean, I was one of the guys. I was going pretty nuts because it took me 3 times to do it, right? So I was pretty psyched about doing. It was awesome. Yeah, it was one of the best feelings I've ever had coming from basketball.
I would believe so. I mean, again, that's something I could never imagine the feeling of doing something. As you said, like, you know, we're in a very tough league in high school. Neither of us were on that great of teams. You know, we had the talent of teams, but the talent was not doing what other teams were doing with their talent. Right. So I can't imagine the feeling of winning something like that, like a gold medal. So now a question that I would believe a lot of people who pay a lot, like very, very close attention to the Olympics in Armenia would guess or wonder, do you think you're going to go back and do it again and play in the Olympics again? If you get invited, you know, if you get the team to go back, would you go back and do it again?
I'll tell you what, though, the gold medal that I get to wear, that's my pass to go back anytime. If they put a team together, I have to go. Yeah, you know what? It showed me how much, like how possible it is that we could win. Because like I said, I went there 2 years before, and the first year we went, we were really close, and some weird stuff happened. We ended up winning. Second time we played against some really good guys, it was like we lost again in the quarterfinals. So we were close every time. This time we won. I'm like, I know how it is. I know what to do. I know what it feels like to win. It was like a vet in that chance. I mean, if they give me the call tonight to fly out next week to go play basketball tournament over there, I'll be on the flight. You know?
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you said you feel like you have that like veteran status. You know, you're 22 years old.
Yeah.
So that's my leads to my next question. At 22 years old, do you feel that the next time you go back, especially if there's new people playing, that you have that leadership role where, these guys will be 30 years old. Do you think that you have that leadership role to go, listen, like, we're going to play the way I want to play. We're going to do this. Like, I have that higher up on you. I have the gold medal. Yeah. So I'm the leader of this team regardless of what you guys think. You guys could have played here as much as you want. Like, I was on the team that made it there. So
I think that reputation precedes you, right? So if I show up, it's kind of, hey, here's the guy who did it. So, and I'm not a selfish guy where I want to be telling people what to do or not, but if I'm offering advice, and that was even the case this year because I had been played it before. Yeah. But going forward, it's like, hey, if I'm offering advice to my players how we should go about things, take it from a guy who
has a gold medal.
So do I like to maybe throw that in people's faces? We'll see. I like to. I don't know, but maybe I have to wear it out there, wear it the whole time.
And I know you like to joke about it. That's one of the biggest things that you say is every time I tell you to go to the gym since you got back. You tell me to wait for you. The reason why is because you have a gold medal. So when it comes to lifetime achievements, now I know this is a big question. When it comes to lifetime achievements, where do you think you would rank this?
In 22 years, in terms of playing basketball, in my basketball world, it's like one of the best things that I could have done because anytime you win is great. On such a big stage is great. Now, maybe not in basketball, but in life, I'll be achieving bigger things than that, right? But it's really cool to have done that because my dad played the same thing, but soccer. So my dad was a guy from New York. Played for New York. He represented the East Coast a lot of times in these games. A few years he did get to play. He was a sick goalie, really good, but he played soccer. And he got close and was in championship games a lot, and he never won the World Games. So, first thing I did, I won. I called my dad right away. He didn't get to come out this year, but he's like, hey, you did it. You took it a step further. Like I played in this kinds of thing, and he was a really good player. People respected him as a player, and he's like, you picked it up and you brought it even further. You won this.
You kept the family name going. In Armenia, especially.
Exactly. So even from it was personal to be doing that, and that's what feels really good. Just like forget everybody else and I think like that. But my dad kind of instilled in me playing sports and the discipline that comes along with it and all that kinds of stuff. And then I got to pick it up and continue it and bring it a little further. So I hope one day my kids will be able to even do that, bring it even further. I won however many gold medals, they'll double whatever it is.
And coming closer to the end of the interview, that's one thing I want to ask you. So I know that your dad was playing semi-pro soccer, I believe, if I'm correct. Yeah. And I know that he was a very good soccer player. What made you not take up soccer and take up basketball rather?
It's a good question. I don't know, because as a kid, like most kids, you start off playing soccer. It's just an easy sport for kids. And I did play soccer, and honestly, I was not bad at it. But I think that once I played basketball, I was good at it naturally. I had the height, which really helped. But just something about it drew me to it. I think it was watching basketball a lot, and like the players that came along with it. And I even did try out for soccer freshman year of high school. A lot of people don't know because it was before I knew anyone. I just went before the school year starts. So I go and I try out for soccer. Unfortunately, it was like I thought I walked in on a track tryout. We just ran 12 miles a day, and I was like, "Screw this! I'm not cut out for this. Like, I don't do it." I went as far as I could until I got cut, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was getting cut from soccer because it was like, hey, it put me in line saying this is the kind of thing that you're gonna expect from me, all that running, and it didn't go my way. So what does that do for me? I'm out there running every day. I'm out there getting better at making sure that I'm honing in on my basketball skills and being ready for that. And at that point, looking at we used to go to high school basketball games when we were kids before we were in high school.
Amazing.
And Catholic high school league in New York City.
It's the best.
It was like
it's one league that you cannot beat. There's very few leagues that can beat that.
Like we were kids watching those games as if we're at NBA games, and those guys like were stars, and like people didn't know them, and there was like D1 coaches at the games and stuff like that. So in our Queens at least, and Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Bronx, it's a big deal to play Catholic League high school basketball. And I think as a kid, I saw that and I said, hey, Dad, I want to do that. So then I was like, basketball is my thing. I'm going for it, and I'm going after that. And here I did it.
And I think my final question would be, so I know you just gave me the whole spiel on why you would want to become a basketball player over soccer. What do you think, if you could remember, as far back as you could remember, was the first thing that made you go, I love this sport? Whether it was a player, a team, because I know when I first started watching basketball, I was very big on the Nuggets. I'm still a Nuggets fan to this day. I love the color of the team. Once I loved the color of that team, I watched Carmelo Anthony for the first time. And then from Carmelo Anthony, I actually got to see him play at Madison Square Garden. Because I started watching basketball later than I started playing it. Right. You know, I started playing it, I was like the little doofy kid, was never an athletic at a young age, you know. And you know firsthand, I started, you know, growing and loving basketball to the ages of 12 to 14 is when I started actually like loving the game. But as a kid, you know, I always wanted to play it. You know, me and you hung out, you'd always play it, so I figured, okay, might as well pick up basketball. And watching a player like Carmelo Anthony, watching a player like Danilo Gallinari growing up, you know, on the Nuggets, those were two players that I would say shaped the game of basketball for me. And I know it's weird to say Danilo Gallinari was the kind of guy, you know. Yeah. But was there a player, was there a team, was there a moment in basketball, like one single highlight that you're like, this is what I want to do?
No, I mean, watching like Lakers Celtics games, like Kobe Bryant playing in those playoff games, stuff like that I remember as a kid watching that and being like so tuned in. Like couldn't take me away from the TV. Watching those games late at night on a school night where I had to wake up early. My mom was telling me I gotta go to bed. Yeah. So I mean, you see like those real like big time moments happening in sports, and people really care, and how many people are watching and stuff like that. And Kobe was like king of those epic games and those game winners. To
this day, his highlights are still they're still top.
Exactly. I think seeing a lot of that stuff was so cool that you could have like this crazy highlight and win a game and all the attention that it gets like that. So, like, I mean, same as you, like we watched together Knicks growing up. I know you're a Nuggets fan, but you can't help but to escape the Knicks. But
no, and even very recently, right before COVID, being going to the Knicks Nuggets game, watching a player like Nikola Jokic, you know, just to walk through the defense and being that good of a player that he is, it's amazing. And to finish up, if there's one piece of advice that you can give to the younger generations, even regardless of who it is, but especially the younger generations of Armenian people, the Armenian children that want to go play basketball overseas, what would your piece of advice be to them?
Yeah, it's interesting because while we were over there, we did that. We visited some kids and like donated them basketballs and stuff like that because they don't have the best facilities. Yeah. But there is things that they can do. Right? There is a ball, there is a hoop. And I don't think that they realize how possible it is for them. Yeah. Because no one has done it yet. Yep. So my advice would be to them is that it is possible, but it's not easy. Mm-hmm. Right? So you can do it, but it's going to be a lot of work. And they need to see how much dedication it takes to playing basketball. I mean, as you know, we work out so much when you're in high school and stuff, and you're playing.
Takes hours, 6 hours.
If I would give, days. And I would go back in time and tell myself, a guy who had like 3 practices a day, had no downtime, I would say, do even more. Mm-hmm. So to those kids, my advice is that it's possible, but it's not easy. So work hard for it.
Yeah, that's amazing advice coming from somebody that understands now. That's funny. Another thing that you understand when you get older is that you have the time to work. You just don't realize it because you know, as a kid, especially in high school, you're lazy. You're like, I did what I need to. I went to my hour-and-a-half practice. When you realize that just getting 10 more shots up at the end of practice could be so much more worth it.
Right. It's hard to do things that you're not told to be done. You know, as a kid, you're kind of like, well, I was told to do this, so I did that. It's like, if there's someone there telling you, no, you need to do this next thing, you need to do this next thing, that's great. If you don't have that, it's got to be you. It's got to be you telling you to stay.
You got to be super motivated. It's hard to emphasize that on young players, too. Right. Yeah. So advice like that is amazing. Yeah. But I truly appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we finally got to talk about your journey. Yes. And thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview. I will be dropping Nicholas's social medias below. If you guys want to follow him, reach out to him, any advice, you guys can go ahead and do that. And I will see you guys in the next episode of the A&E podcast.
Without a roof on, she'd be riding shotgun.